All right, before we get started tonight, do me a favor, will you? I'm going to ask a kind favor, and that would be give this video a like if you're new to the Doc Talk Sports YouTube channel. And if you have any comments or criticisms or see anything we say or do, you can always leave a comment in the comment section. We'll respond to as many as we can. Of course, this is an interactive show, so if you would like to participate and ask Dr. Rob a question, ask Scott Spreitzer a question, give us a call at 402-543-5556. And, of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's very, very simple just to hit that subscribe button. So this is Behind the Point Spread. We've been doing this all season long. My name is Travis Justice, and let's bring in our cohorts. I don't know where the hell Dr. Rob disappeared to. I mean, he had the 5-minute countdown, Scott Spreitzer, and he just, disappeared.
Yeah, I mean, for as smart as he is, you'd think he'd have that whole 5-minute thing, pretty much taken care of. And boy, he's gone. He must have thought it was 7 minutes, Travis.
Let's analyze his basement. I see he's got his academic Heisman over there on the right-hand side. That's the Campbell Award. I see I can't tell if that's a Brooke Behringer or a Makovica or a Schlesinger run on the poster. I think that's a Schlesinger run. Yeah,
it looks like it looks big enough to be Schlesinger and not that's gotta be. I'm trying to see the number there, but it's almost you can't see it. So
I see a football up on the shelves. Do I see like a Woody doll, like a Woody from Toy Story? Is that kind of hanging off the end, or is that Elf on a shelf? I don't know. I can't tell. How you been, man? Have a good Thanksgiving?
I've been doing all right. Lost you there for a second, and here he is, 5 minutes and 30 seconds.
Attaboy, Rob. Glad you could join us tonight, Rob. He can't hear us. Glad you could join us.
Now I can hear it. Sorry, I'm on call tonight again, so I got the work call.
See, that's bullshit. That's bullshit because that's the easy excuse. I'm on call.
It's because I got a real job.
Oh, so
real job.
Oh, you get to play the doctor card all the time. I'm on call. I'm on call.
I am a doctor.
I know. That's why it's called Doc Talk. Did you have a good Thanksgiving though, Scott?
Oh, it was great. I had a good time after feeling kind of under the weather for a couple of days, and took the fam to a restaurant on the Strip. We were overlooking the Las Vegas Strip, which was really cool, and had a traditional Thanksgiving dinner with a little bit of Italian thrown in the mix. So good times. And I mean, I love Las Vegas on the Strip at 8 o'clock at night when it's dark and you get all the lights and you're looking out the big giant 20-foot high windows that stretch across the entire restaurant. So good time with the family. How about you guys?
I spent it with family. I went off my diet and I still lost weight this week. Rob, wow. I hit the 184 mark now. I'm down in the 184 range. So
I think you've got some kind of metabolic disorder now where you're just going to start wasting away, dude.
I feel like it. I'm like all bones on my ribs and stuff. But, I had some turkey, and Lizzie, Owen's girlfriend, made a pumpkin pie that was a white chocolate roasted pumpkin pie with a caramel base on the crust.
Wow.
And I will say that was the best.
Amazing.
It was the best pie I've ever had. And I ate the whole pie because we brought it back and nobody was eating pieces of it. I'm like, well, I better have a piece. It would
be rude not to.
It would be rude not to.
Do you feel guilty? I'm a late night guy. I'm up till 4 a.m. almost every night. In fact, I fell asleep one night last week at 11:30 p.m. And I said to my daughter, as she was in town for 8 days, I said to her as I was walking upstairs to the bedroom, I can't remember the last time I was in bed before midnight or 1 a.m. for that matter. And I said, watch, I'm going to wake up at 1:30 and be wide awake. I think it was 1:25. I was pretty close to having it called right. And I was up the next 4 hours. So, but I'll tell you what, as far as the grub was concerned, you said you lost weight. My daughter was here for 8 days, guys. I probably gained 10 pounds. I average about 1.5 pounds per day when she's here. But good news, my ankle after 4 months is finally well enough to hit the treadmill. And I started earlier today. So I can be nice and svelte like the two of you next season when we kick off this show.
There we go.
What should he be walking in, Rob? He should be ordering a pair of G-Defy shoes.
I get some G-Defy shoes.
G-Defys. Yep. There you go.
We got some amazing walking shoes.
Rob, Jacob wants to point out that all doctors run on their own schedule, just to let you know.
He's not completely wrong. I tend to run on surgeons' schedules, but He's
Uh,
not wrong though.
If you want to work with Scott Spreitzer for the rest of the NFL season, NBA season, NHL season, even the rest of the college football season, you can just text the word Doc Talk to the number 29022 and get the free $60 trial of the premium member picks from Scott, or you can visit docsports.com. Sign up for the free 60 on the upper left-hand side of the website. Of course, this is an interactive show. As I double-click, you can call now 402-543-5556. That's 402-543-5556. We'd love to hear from you. And it is conference championship week, so we've got 5 games for you. We skipped the NFL this week. We're going to start in the Mountain West, move on to the Big 12, then to the SEC, then to the ACC, and finally the Big 10. Now, Scott asked us to come tonight with UNLV gear on. I don't think any of us own UNLV gear. I know Scott does. But before we dive into this, Brett Yormark, the commissioner of the Big 12, said tonight that there is no way whatsoever that a group of 5 school, this would be Boise State and now UNLV, should be ranked ahead of the Big 12 champion. Scott, you have power rankings. You follow this. Is Brett Yormark full of shit, or is he correct even in your power rankings?
Well, first of all, the NC2A, the coaches, the administrators, all that kind of stuff have to decide if this is the top 12 teams in college football or the teams that did what they were supposed to qualify for this tournament. So that's 2 different animals. And if you do what you're said you have to do, like for instance, the Mountain West, well, then you qualified, whether you're one of the best teams or not. What commissioner was it again? I'm sorry, was it Big 10 or Big 12?
Big 12 from Brett Yormark from the Big 12.
Okay, I'm looking right now at my power ratings. I brought them up while we're talking here. Let me see where I have Boise and UNLV, for instance. I've got Boise 35th. I've got UNLV 37th.
Where do you have Arizona State and Iowa State?
Arizona State and Iowa State. Let me see. I've got Arizona State 21st, Iowa State 24th. So as far as power ratings, and so that would tend to agree with what he's saying. But again, it's a situation where they've made this a tournament you qualify for. And if they ever want to do it right, and by right, and I hate to, knock around, what Boise State and UNLV have done. Remember, UNLV did beat Kansas on the road. And so I think about things like that. I'm like, if you ever want this to be the best 12 teams, we don't even get the best 68 in March sometimes. If you ever want this to be the best 12 teams, then get an odds maker on the show who understands power ratings, and you're going to get the best 12 teams. Bottom line, this talk about like Miami should be in the playoffs, even though they lost a couple of games. Well, I don't have Miami in my top 12. They're right there. I mean, I got them 14th, so they can make an argument. But again, they got to decide if it's a qualifying tournament or if it's based on the top 12 teams. And right now, the way it's set up, it's qualifying. So Boise and UNLV have done what they're supposed to get there.
Last night, I don't know if you guys watched college football playoff poll show, but Alabama's in now. The way they described, Ward Emanuel from Michigan described it last night, teams that are not playing are not going to move. The best, right. And so it more or less shut out Miami, Ole Miss, South Carolina, and guaranteed that Alabama's going to make this thing.
Well, out of all those teams, guys, I have Ole Miss and Alabama in my top 10 in power ratings. I know they've lost 3 times. I get it. So there's the other side of the coin. If you're going to make it a qualifying tournament, then how did Alabama qualify? They lost 3 times. They didn't win their conference, regular season or conference championship. They didn't. And so I don't know if the word's hypocrite, but out of one side of their mouth, they're saying it's got to be a qualifying tournament. The other side of their mouth, they're saying it's the best 12 teams. All right, well, if it's the best 12 teams, then Ole Miss and Alabama are both in the postseason, in the playoffs, as far as what everybody's power ratings say. I don't know anybody right now that I respect in the world of sports betting or behind the counter, the sportsbook directors that have Alabama outside of their top 10 or out of their top 10. They're 9th in mine. And again, it's all about who you play and who you lose and how you lose. At the same time, I'm not disappointed because of the way it's set up if Alabama wasn't included, because they have the 3 losses. So again, decide, is it going to be based on how good you are or based on you qualified and fit the parameters that they set up before the season?
Well, the first conference championship game is going to be in the Mountain West, and it's UNLV taking on Boise State. This is Friday night at 7 o'clock on Fox. Boise State, a 4-point favorite. The over-under on this at 57.5. I know you're rooting for UNLV. These two played a close game earlier in the season. Scott, what's your view on the rematch?
Yeah, by the way, for people in Nevada that are watching, and I know there's a few, I didn't wear the jersey. I don't know why. I forgot the UNLV. It's in my closet, and I'm not going to run and take time to get it. I've got like 2 jerseys that I've had in like the last 25 years. One is Nebraska, one is UNLV. They've both been in my closet more often than on my back. So as far as this game is concerned, this line was as high as 6.5 in a couple of books. Sunday night going into Monday, and of course, I mean by dawn it had gone down to 4.5. It's been as low as 3.5. Right now, as you mentioned, it's 4, and that's just about every book. The total dipped from 59.5 to 57.5. I think it's going to be very interesting in seeing if one of these two teams can get their star player on offense going early and consistently throughout the game. If you look at the Boise running back, Ashton Jeanty, absolute workhorse. The guy's unbelievable. He's like Earl Campbell, man, as far as, he'll take 35 carries and he won't let up. He gets up like he needs to take about 3 plays off or maybe a game off, and then he comes back out there and carries it for 10 yards. He's got 2,300 yards on the season. And how about this? Ashton Jeanty averaged 7.7 yards per carry against everybody not named UNLV. Against UNLV, he ran for 3.9 yards per carry. That was it. They were battering this guy. He got 33 carries, and he got less than 130 yards on those 33 carries, and every single inch was earned. So I look at that. He was half his norm as far as yards per carry against the Rebels. Boise trailed in the fourth quarter. They found a way to win 29-24. The other player is for UNLV, Ricky White, All-American wide receiver, transfer from Michigan State a couple of years ago. 2,500 receiving yards the last 2 years in Vegas, about 15 yards per catch. He had at least 98 receiving yards 6 games this season, and he averaged about 96 receiving yards over 2 years. He got 71 yards on average against Boise in the 2 times he's faced Boise State. So both of these defenses have shut down the star offensive player for the other team in the couple of times that they've met since last year. Here's what I broke down as far as both teams. They're trending in opposite directions, even though they're both winning. Since facing each other, look at the last 4 games. UNLV blew out 3 out of 4 opponents. 275 rushing yards per game in those 4 games, 5.5 per carry. They held their opponents to 74 yards rushing on average at 2.5 per carry. Look at Boise the last 4 games. Squeaked by the Nevada Wolfpack by 7. Led San Jose State by 7 with 2 minutes to go. Got an extra touchdown or 2 there, a pick 6 at the end, and it looks bigger than it was. They trailed Wyoming 17-13 with 5.5 minutes to go. They led Oregon State just 27-18 with a minute to go before a final minute touchdown turned that in to what looked like a comfortable win. None of their wins of late have been comfortable. They've all been tight till the very end. And I'll tell you what, good news for the desert dwellers. It's going to be like 40, 42 degrees, minimal winds, 6 to 8 miles an hour, no precipitation. I like the under here, guys. I think both teams are going to have to try to keep the opposing offense off the field. We know what Boise wants to do. They want to run the ball all day long with Jeanty. So I do believe that total coming down 2 points was the right move. And I lean towards UNLV in this one. I just think they're trending the last 4 weeks better than Boise. And that was since these two teams last met. Again, UNLV led in the fourth quarter. The argument for Boise, and I hear this a lot the last couple of days, Boise was a 4-point favorite in Las Vegas. Why are they only a 4-point favorite at home? Well, I just mentioned they're trending the wrong way, even though they're winning those games. And that line came down from 6.5 to 4 like that when it came out. Sharps were all over it. So UNLV plus the points here in that very long-winded description of this game.
Hey, Scott, I think the last time we ever really talked about UNLV was with the quarterback change earlier this year. And I mean, that was more of a discussion about NIL and transfer portal issues. How did that play in? I mean, looking back on it, was that, I mean, obviously they're in the conference title game with a shot to win it. Good move, bad move, neutral move, didn't make a difference, made all the difference in the world. What's your thoughts?
To the Dr. Rob grading, I would say A+.
And he's never given an A+.
On a curve even.
On a curve
Max
even.
Luca couldn't throw. He was a 43% passer, and he decided he wanted an extra 6 figures or whatever. And so he leaves. They bring in Malik Williams. In fact, he's a better runner than Matt Sluka. Sluka is not fluid. Sluka is a hard-nosed kid who ran hard. And you never know. He may have gotten injured because he never avoided contact. Malik Williams is smooth. He runs, he glides when he runs, and his accuracy is better than Matt Sluka's. So I don't think they would have been 10-2 and Banner. They'd probably been like 8-4. And
Gotcha.
I think Malik Williams was probably 2 wins above the replacement, so to speak, even though he was the replacement. If you want to use a baseball metric, 2 wins above what Matt Sluka would have been.
Next game's going to be the Big 12. This is the first one on Saturday morning at 11 o'clock on ABC. Arizona State taking on Iowa State. 2 very similar colors, completely different logos, but Arizona State a 2-point favorite, which I'm trying to figure out this one, Scott, because they lose their main receiver, and he's a hell of a player, over 1,000 yards receiving this year. He's out probably through the bowl game as he had a sling on in the Arizona game. I get the 49.5, but I actually thought Iowa State would have been a favorite here.
They actually opened a favorite, Iowa State. They opened a 1.5-point favorite at DraftKings. They try to get out in front of the lines early, as does like the Circa here in town, but most of the books kind of wait, and most of the books opened Iowa State a short dog here. So right now it's 2 just about everywhere, Arizona State, the favorite. You know, you hit on Jordan Tyson, that receiver. I mean, he's really the one wideout who could start for Iowa State off of this ASU team. And that's not really – what's that?
Maybe. They get 2 good wideouts.
Oh, of course they do. I was going to talk about them too. But, I mean, this guy could challenge them, and he's the only one. My point is that they don't got anybody else at wideout. They really don't, Arizona State. They've got Scattaboo. We've talked about him before a few weeks ago. Incredible running back. He's now their second leading receiver. I mean, I think Tyson, he had 75 receptions and 1,100 yards. Their next best wideout, 17 catches in 11 games. That's where it drops. So you got Scattaboo out of the backfield who's caught it like 35, 40 times. And then you've got a tight end who's got a bunch of catches on the season. But they don't have any speed burners going down the sideline to open up the offense now that Jordan Tyson is injured and out. You mentioned Iowa State. Yeah, Higgins. No, I mean, these guys are really outstanding wide receivers, no doubt about it. I lean under here. ASU being hamstrung on offense. And as far as Iowa State, I think the offense is good, not great. And you can run on their defense. So get ready for a whole lot of Scattaboo. And if Arizona State can establish 4.5 yards per carry or better, they probably win the game. I think what's going to happen is you're going to see under 50 in this game.
Of course, the winner is going to go to the college football playoff. The crazy thing is, if Iowa State wins, it's in the playoff, and it would make the playoff before Iowa, which is crazy, right? I mean, when you look at the history of Iowa State, I mean, Rob, you played against Iowa State teams that were bad. You lost to one, too, that wasn't very good.
You would have to remind me of that.
That's what I'm good of. But, I mean, would you have ever thought Iowa State would be in a position to be in the college football playoff?
I'm actually at this point a little surprised. I mean, you go back to looking at, because I think you and I even talked about this going into last weekend with the game between Kansas State and Iowa State, that, okay, well, does the winner of that game have a chance at the playoff? And I think we were both like, I don't know if that's much of a chance. And
there were so many tiebreakers
going
back last week, right? I mean, you had so many things that had to fall into place, and they all fell into place.
There was a lot. Well, and you mentioned that it was such a weird week or weird weekend in terms of all the games and how everything played out, that it moved that up for them. So I don't know. I'm a little surprised. You make a great point about Iowa State and Iowa.
Yeah. I mean, just for the history of the programs, right? It's just like Iowa's been close, knocked on the door in 2015, but Scott, I think Iowa State wins this thing. I really do.
See, I worry about the Matt Campbell effect.
What do you mean the Matt Campbell effect?
He always gets to that point where you think, okay, here's the thing. It's hard to knock the guy when he's got an all-time.
They won 10 games.
It's all-time single-season win record for Iowa State, and he is the all-time winningest coach at Iowa State.
Yes, he is.
Correct?
Just past Dan McCarney, yes.
Okay, so it's hard to knock the guy, and I don't mean it in that sense. It's just every time people start thinking he maybe has a team that's better than it is, it's that they think he's got that, okay, they've gotten over the hump now, And now they're going to really start doing some stuff, conference titles, playoff appearances, things like that. Every time you think Iowa State's there, they lose.
They got over the 10-win hump. I mean, the 10 wins was a hump, right? Because that's the first time in school history they've gotten to 10 wins. So
I'm just thinking about the seasons when they've had guys like Brock Purdy and Breece Hall and some of these other players that are just like, how did you not do this with those guys?
But and that's fair. That year Brock Purdy was a senior. They underachieved big time.
And I understand you had Oklahoma and Texas in the conference then, but they were upsetting those teams too. So I mean, the capability was there.
I had the Cyclones over their wins total, so we cashed that. You can go back to the very first show that we did, and we talked a little bit about the Cyclones. I also had Iowa over, and they were a little scary there in the midseason where they weren't really winning games. But I got a question for Rob, since you played the game at such a high level. You've got Scatteraboo. You know their wideouts aren't anything special. So you're Iowa State. You play a 335 defense. Do you switch up a little bit? Their run defense isn't that good, and they've gotten away with it. Do you switch up the 335, and is it too late in the season? Because you know Arizona State's going to give the ball 25 times to Scatteraboo, probably
the guy's like a bowling ball
7 times. He's a wrecking crew.
So he's like a big Darren Sproles.
I called him a Sherman Tank on my radio show this week. I called him a Sherman Tank.
The name's outstanding.
Do you play some other defense besides 335, or do you stick with it?
If I'm
I don't mean for the whole game. I just mean change it up from time to time.
Yeah, I mean, I could see you doing that. Now, I mean, you've got to calculate it a little bit, and obviously you'd be talking about doing that on first and second down, trying to do that in non-passing situations. The problem is that gets dangerous with a guy like him. And I mean, you even yourself said it, that you got a guy who can catch the ball. And I look at Scatteraboo, that he's a guy that I look at as more of a prototypical NFL guy than even like Gianti. And the reason I say that, he blocks like gangbusters. He's a really good blocker, and he can catch the ball. And that's an NFL guy right there. Well, if you're gonna load it up to stop them in the run game, Arizona State comes back and hits you with play action pass. And I think that's a weakness that gets exposed right there. I mean, if I'm a D
tight end, by the way, too.
Yeah. It's just I mean, if I'm a D coordinator for Iowa State, right, I'm thinking you dance with the one you brought. I mean, you don't start changing stuff up here in a select situation. And I mean, maybe you add a couple of wrinkles. I mean, you do that. You game plan every week. So you're adding little wrinkles here and there. But I don't think it's all of a sudden you do this, okay, first and second down, we're rolling out a 4-3 look on these guys. It's just, I think if you do that, you're going to have trouble.
Zona Clone wants to remind you that they went Iowa State split with the OU season, went to the championship game, lost on the last possession, then won the Fiesta Bowl against Oregon.
Did win the Fiesta.
Yes. So those Cyclone fans will come out, man. They'll defend their clones.
And I am a fan. I keep feeling like I don't know, maybe it's the Nebraska fan coming out in my Cyclone fandom that I feel let down.
I had a lot of friends from high school that went to Iowa State. I don't like Iowa. Sorry, I'm a Nebraska guy, but I like Iowa State. So sorry, Travis.
You know why? Because they were always bad when Nebraska was at its heyday. They were always, it was guaranteed wins.
In the 70s over the Huskers, which were
yeah.
What was the best record when Dwayne Crutchfield was running back at Iowa State? I mean, gosh, it blows my mind that they've never won 10 games.
The fact that you and I probably, because I bet Rob doesn't even know who Dwayne Crutchfield is.
Never heard the name before.
Really?
The dude, you said Earl Campbell earlier. Yeah. He was like an Earl. He was a big dude. He was a bruising. Yeah. He'd be a great fullback today, don't you think?
I think he played for the Jets for a while too, if I recall correctly. Yeah.
Rob, I'd say probably 81 to 83.
Was it that late?
Wow, that was a dark era of Cyclone history,
Turner Gill, do you guys remember that game where Turner Gill hurt his foot late in the season? What year was that?
81.
81. Okay, I think Crutchfield was a junior or senior then. I remember being at the game where Turner Gill got hurt.
He played for Donnie Duncan, I believe.
Donnie Duncan, that's right. Yeah.
Wait, the old OU.
Yeah, Donnie Duncan. Yeah, he was the head coach at Iowa State.
I did not know that.
I love telling Rob stuff he doesn't know.
Like a lot of, well, I mean, I knew who he was at the end of his career. I knew he was the OU AD.
Well,
I mean,
here we
people
go.
are sitting here going like, "Who the hell?"
I've just helped us lose. I've just helped us lose probably everybody under 40 or 35 by bringing up Dwayne Crutchfield and
Dwayne Crutchfield
and Donnie Duncan.
Well, hold on for a second. Dwayne Crutchfield is 65 years old.
Wow.
So he went into the Iowa State Hall of Fame in 2017.
That's a dozen years older than me.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Let's see.
So that would have been like late 70s.
Yeah, I think it was like 78 or 81 or something like that.
So he was a second-team All-American in 1980, two-time first-team All-Big 8 in 80 and 81. So he would have graduated 81.
I remember being at that game, and like I said, everybody's going, who's Turner Gill, who's Crutchfield? That's when he got it, when he hurt his foot late in the season, and he had to miss a few weeks. He had some kind of nerve damage or something. And but yeah, I was at the game with Crutchfield, and he was a monster. And we were in Lincoln. It wasn't at Ames. It was in Lincoln. And we had Iowa State fans around us. And I'm going to tell you right now, there were Iowa State fans and Penn State fans, two of my favorite sets of fan groups that I've been at games, and I've been around them, and they're just cool mother hubbards, man. I mean, they really are. Iowa State and Penn State fans, at least back in the day.
Yeah, I don't know if I would say that about Penn State fans now, at least on my last trip to Happy Valley. Down in Dallas is going to be the SEC title game. You got Texas taking on Georgia. This is a rematch. Georgia destroyed the Longhorns early in the season. This is going to be Saturday at 3 o'clock on ABC. Scott, explain to me how the Longhorns are a 3-point favorite after getting beat like a drum at home to Georgia.
Well, they're down to 2.5 in a lot of spots. There's still a couple of threes out there. So if folks want to lay it, they know where to do it. If folks want to take the points, they know where to do it. It's 2.5 and 3. But I'll try to explain it to you here, because you look at when they played in Austin, Texas was a 4-point favorite in that game. This isn't, in Athens, but it's in Atlanta, and Georgia plays here several times, not a year, but over, the last decade. And you've got a situation where you probably give 1 point to Georgia for home field advantage, and then they come up with that 3-point spread, and you let the bettors have at it. And so far, there's been more money or respected money coming in on Georgia than on Texas. So that kind of goes with what you're saying. Georgia's defense, it's the weakest, and I mean that relatively speaking. It's the weakest it's been in the Kirby Smart era, no doubt about it. Having said that, they slammed the door on Texas. The Longhorns gained less than 5 yards per pass. They gained just over 1 yard per carry in that 30-15 game. They gave up 1.4 sacks per game in 11 games this year, Texas. They gave up 7 sacks, almost 7 times more sacks against Georgia than they averaged throughout the course of their other 11 games. And the problem for me, the thing that I'm kind of trying to let sink into my mind is how much did that take out of Georgia last week, giving up well over 500 yards to Tech and playing that marathon game, 8 so-called overtimes. I hate this 2-point thing, get a ball, go and try to score 2. But the bottom line is they gave up over 500 yards. That was a worn-out football team at the end of the game. Now, the other counter to that is Kirby Smart's seen everything, right? And he's won championships. So you got that going for you if you're the Bulldogs. But anyway, back to that game. So Georgia completely shut down Texas. Carson Beck completed only 56% of his passes against the Longhorns. He threw 3 picks. Yet they still whipped the Longhorns, especially in the trenches. I know Kirby Smart's only 2-4 in conference championships, but I look back at that game and I'm trying to figure out how Texas can change things in the trenches. They got worked for 3/4 of that game.
Are you going with anybody on this one?
I'm kind of leaning towards the Bulldogs, but I haven't pulled the trigger yet, guys. And if I do lean towards the Bulldogs, I've waited to where it's 2.5 in most of the books, which kind of stinks because I can't get that. I don't buy points. A lot of people say, oh, we're going to buy half a point. Don't buy half a point. And it's funny because I hear professional bettors saying that. It costs you more money. You lose more money. And on a database with Rob's favorite name in my business, Big Al McMorty, we went back 35 years and we saw that the final score in a college football game matters against the line, against the spread on a line move like this, less than 3% of the time for 35 years. So that would make the argument, take the 2.5. If you like Georgia, don't worry about the 3. But because it's such a low percentage affecting the spread, that's why you don't buy half points. You just don't do it. You're going to cost yourself money in the long run.
See, I want to remind people too, because a lot of people will write on the YouTube comments, are you going to give a pick or not, or just talking about a game? I said, First of all, Scott doesn't pick. We don't decide. I decide what games we're going to talk about, and you don't bet every game on a board, do you? You're very strategic about the ones you bet. You make an educated mathematical bet.
I would say in the last decade, I probably average, and I'm talking about before the games kick off, not in game. So pre-game, let's call them bets. I probably average 7 a Saturday in college. Throw in probably 15 in-game bets throughout the course. And that could be out of 15, that could be like 8 in one game, So, yeah, I mean, I know guys will fire 30 plays and they're successful at it. For me, I'm not that guy. It's always worked for me to do about 6 to 9 plays per Saturday. Now, college basketball, I'll have 15 plays sometimes before the games tip off. You're talking about 100 games on a Saturday. But yeah, I mean, and by the way, I do like UNLV. I do like that game under. So there's a couple of plays there where, I'm telling people what I do like in that game on Friday night. If I'm going to be on this game, I will say this. I will be on the Georgia Bulldogs. It's going to be Georgia or nothing for me.
All right. How about the ACC? Maybe I'm old school. Maybe it's sentimental. I want SMU to win this thing so damn bad, just because I was alive and I remember the death penalty. I remember the Pony Express. I love the fact that they begged to be in the ACC, and I mean literally begged to be in the ACC, took no media rights money for 9 years. They're not getting paid for 9 years, and here they are, season number 1, and in the ACC title game taking on Clemson. I love it, and I want them to win.
Yeah, and I think the line is pretty much right. Here's the thing about this game. SMU opened up an underdog in a couple of books. One of these books, and you guys would know it if I brought it up, and I'm not going to beat them up or anything like that. They always want to be first, and they always put out a horrible line. I mean, 80% of their games are bad, and their limits are lower at that point of the day or whatever when they first release those lines. So you can take advantage, but not major advantage because their limits are lower. One of the books out there opened SMU a 3-point underdog. It got hit right away. I talked about lines moving before dawn. I mean, this one moved, before the moon even came out the night before. I mean, it was like, it went from 3 to pick to 1 to 2 to 2.5 on SMU. Every sharp bettor basically had the Mustangs as soon as that number came out, and they had to make that big adjustment. I've got SMU 13th in my power ratings. I've got Clemson 15th. It's close. There's a decision to be made here. Here's the decision you got to make. You could say everything went right for SMU, and they got much better when they switched quarterbacks midseason to Kevin Jennings, and he has played extremely well. They're a different team since he's in there. Or the other half of that decision, you could say it's been a pretty soft schedule that SMU has faced. And as one bettor that I know here in town that pointed out, SMU has not played a single team power rated inside the top 50 since October 5th. That was against Louisville. That's it. So they should get the ground game going, I think, with Brashard Smith, one of the better running backs in college football. Clemson's outside the top 70 against the run. It's not your typical Dabo defense that we got used to a few years ago. He is 8-1 in title games. You have to give Dabo that. When it comes to conference championships, he's won 8 out of 9. But I like SMU here. You look at Clemson down the stretch, toss out the game against the Citadel. Clemson's 2-2 straight up in their other 4. The losses came to South Carolina and Louisville, and one of the 2 wins came by 4 points against the Pitt Panthers with about a minute to go in the game. They're that close to being 1-3 in their last 5 weeks, not including the Citadel, and they've not knocked around anybody. And I think SMU is going to catch him here, get the win. And I like him here. I'm going to kind of smack myself in the mouth here if Dabo comes out with this incredible game plan, makes the right changes throughout the game, and wins his 9th championship in 10 tries. He's that good, and you got to respect that.
Think about what we're saying here. We could have a college football playoff where Iowa State and SMU are both in it, and Boise State and UNLV.
UNLV was the worst program in football for so many years. John Robinson just passed away. R.I.P. John Robinson. He was here for a few years, 20 years ago, whatever. I was at all their home games for like 20 years. I enjoyed the misery. But I'm watching John Robinson. He had one good year here. He mailed it in after that. What I didn't like about John Robinson is when he left, he took shot after shot after shot against UNLV. This is the place where he made excuses because he had big. I mean, they really thought that UNLV was going to be something in that. I think it was his third or fourth year was his final year. And he had good players. Jason Thomas, Mel Kiper thought the kid was going to be first or second quarterback taken in the draft going into his final year. He had some nice players, and they failed. And then when Robinson left, he actually said, and I'm probably paraphrasing a little bit, this is where coaches go to die. Nobody will ever win at UNLV. And just ripped it to shreds after getting a paycheck for being a cheerleader for 3 years. And again, I'm talking bad about somebody who's passed. I don't typically do that. But he really ticked me off when he left here and said, this is where coach. Don't people know that's Lincoln, Nebraska? I'm just kidding.
How good was UNLV in like the Cunningham days?
11-1, 10-2.
Okay.
They had Harvey Hyde as their coach. Harvey does a podcast now. He was also coach at Long Beach before they folded the program. the program. But when Randall was here, remember they had Ickey Woods. They had some serious players, a couple nice receivers that went on to the NFL. And they were winning 11 games, 10 games. Before I got out here, Sudden Sam Smith, was a UNLV guy. Or Sam King, I'm sorry. And Sam King had led this team to 9-win after 9-win after 8-win seasons. Ron Meyer was the coach in the 70s. Ron Meyer of SMU fame and off to the NFL with the Patriots and the Colts. So they had a good program, and it didn't start till like 1968. That's when they started playing football. So they had a pretty good program, 70s, through the Randall Cunningham years. They went to a bowl game around 92 with Jeff Horton as the coach, and then things just collapsed. I mean, really bad. And I mean, the only time they'd sell out was when Wisconsin came out here, UNLV, they played out here several times, and the Wisconsin fans were always traveling and filling the stadium. They would take that overhead shot of the stadium for the postcard of the season ticket holders when Wisconsin was playing here because everybody was dressed in red and it filled the stadium. That was the game they did the postcard. But, this Barry Odom, I don't know how long they're going to be able to keep this guy. How do you go from perennial to – they had over-unders 4 years ago of 2.5 wins at the sports books.
Wow.
And now they've won 19 games in the first 2 seasons Odom's been here. I don't know how they keep this guy much longer. I mean, we used to get guys that would pay through the nose talking about the Steve Wynns of Las Vegas, the Gucci Row guys. And we don't have that anymore to where guys are going to just lay out the money for a college football coach. It's unfortunate, or college basketball.
Do you leave UNLV Do you leave UNLV for Purdue?
I don't know, because he was at Mizzou. He was at Missouri. You know what I mean?
I get that, but I'm just saying Purdue's like the biggest. Well, you've got UCF, which is probably going to go to Scott Frost. Who knows who gets the North Carolina game? Purdue wants to bring back offense. Does he go to?
I don't know. It's like, because again, I think of Missouri being a better program than Purdue, and he's already been at Missouri. He won there, and he lost a job anyway. Did you guys see UCF is looking into Lincoln Riley?
Riley said no today, so he goes, "I'm
Did he
here."
finally come out and say no? Okay.
Yeah, he came out and said no because I think it's no because UCF can't afford to buy out the contract. He's only 3 years into a $10 million
and he's got a top
contract.
10 recruiting class for this coming season already. I think they're going to be a 9-win team next year.
Scott Frost to UCF.
Have fun.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Going to happen. You mentioned Matt Campbell earlier. You know who else chokes at big times is James Franklin. Penn State into the Big Ten title game. It's true. Can't win a top 5 game. Taking on the Oregon Ducks. How about Dan Lanning to the Bears? Have you guys heard that one? I don't think that'd be a good move. I don't like the college guys going to pro. It just doesn't mix. But I want, because I don't like James Franklin, I want Oregon to just boat row these guys. I'm serious.
So does the coaching staff at Maryland after what happened last week.
Gotta let my 4-stringers play.
Yeah. Well, like you said, it's a big game. And guess what? James Franklin is 1-13 against teams ranked in the top 5. He does have a conference title win, though, so you got to give him that. But remember how leaky the Oregon offensive line was through the first couple of weeks of the season? They were constantly letting Gabriel get under pressure those first 8 quarters. Well, guess what? They have allowed a grand total of 5 sacks in the last 10 games. 5 sacks in 10 games. That's probably a stat that Doc Robb can certainly appreciate as an offensive lineman. But
kind of feel like that Ohio State game was a turning point almost.
It was. Yeah, they got their stuff together. They started throwing the ball downfield. They gave him time to throw and go through his progressions, and they were able to put up all those points on the Buckeyes. Penn State has awesome defensive numbers, but who they played as far as opposing offenses? They faced two decent offenses all season. They were shredded for 30 points, 400-plus yards, 7 yards per play by USC. And then Ohio State with the patchwork offensive line gained 170, a little bit more than that on the ground, at over 4 yards per pop against Penn State. And again, that was a patchwork Buckeye offensive line that was able to move Penn State out of the trenches there and gain yardage on the ground in a consistent manner. So not only has Oregon been playing a better brand of football the last 9 or 10 games, but they just became healthy too, the last couple of weeks. I mean, they've got the wide receiver, Tez Johnson's back in the mix. I can't back Penn State here, guys. It's got to be Oregon or nothing for me. I do have Penn State. I'm not a naysayer on the Nittany Lions. I'm looking at my numbers right now, my power ratings, and I do have Penn State ranked 7th right now in my power ratings. And on a neutral field, while the power ratings say 3.5, I would make Oregon. If I'm a bookmaker, I make Oregon 4.5, and then I say, you want to buy the other side, go for it. I'm going to take my shot. That Oregon, I think, is that much better than Penn State.
That would be Saturday night, Indianapolis. So that should be exciting. It's not that I want to cut it close or cut it short. We have been going for 40 minutes, but Creighton's up on Kansas by 10 at half. And so that second half is something I think I want to go watch. Have you been watching it? Yeah. Have you been watching it?
I got my TV off. I forgot to turn it on here before we started. My remote's on the other side of the office.
I mean, you got two good games going on right now. Iowa State and Marquette are tied at 61 with 8.5 to go. And then Creighton's up on Kansas by 10 at halftime. So that's some exciting college hoops as well. So we've got the college conference championship games. When the first round of the playoffs hits, let's do another one of these for the first round of the playoffs. You all good for that?
Perfect.
Let's do it.
That's what I like to hear. But remember, if you want to work with Scott Spreitzer, you can do that by texting the word Doc Talk to the number 29022 and get the free $60 trial of the premium member picks from Scott, or visit DocSports.com and sign up for the free 60 on the upper left-hand side of the website. Now, just to remember, if you haven't watched Dr. Rob's and myself's the Doc Talk podcast, you can just go to the YouTube channel and find it. So we had a good conversation about Nebraska season. And, Rob, we haven't even talked about Terrence Knight leaving, Tony White leaving, the portal. So I know Owen's out of town this weekend, but we might have to do one of these and just record our own.
We got
podcast.
we got some pre-bowl game stuff to discuss.
Yeah, pre-bowl game stuff. So Scott, thanks for taking the time, my friend. It's always good. Appreciate it.
Always
Everybody
enjoy
else?
it, man. Anytime you guys want me on, just give me a call and I'll be on.
We might do a college basketball show. Hell, we might just keep this going. We're over 1,000 people are watching right now.
Oh, I do a Tuesday night college basketball show. So you want to do a Wednesday night show? I'm there.
We may do that.
Scott's going to be the most prepped guy for the show.
Exactly. For Dr. Rob Zatechka, for Scott Spreitzer, I'm Travis Justice. Thanks for watching Behind the Point Spread from Doc Talk Sports.